I'm just going to share this around, Dan. Can you share on your stuff as well or not?
How do I do that?
You can share to a group, or you can do like you can go into your
Yeah, I've
Facebook
done
and
that
just
already.
share.
I did have someone just ask me how do they log in. I'm assuming that we just come up, don't we? Or...
Yeah. So they go to your Facebook page, and you should see us streaming live as we speak. So yeah, we're live on Dan's page now. So you're actually live on your page now, mate. What we'll do is we'll just hang out for a little bit. We'll give everyone a chance to.
Not quite the hour yet.
Exactement. We'll give everyone a chance to get in.
Fingers crossed, mate.
Yeah, so I'll tell you. Okay, yeah, good. So I'll tell you very quickly, everybody will be live in, like, if anyone's logged on so far, we'll be live in maybe a couple of minutes. We'll maybe wait a little bit of time to let everyone have a chance to join us. So we're going to chat for a minute about random stuff. And my random stuff today is I really wanted a roast dinner, being English. Yeah, and in Thailand, a roast dinner is a hard thing to get. And the funny thing is, Dan, is that, can you, Nin, very quick, I've got Nin here as well, can you just take that live stream over there and check that the audio of Dan's good as well, because we had that yesterday.
Yeah, the audio could be a worry, mate.
Okay, so for everybody if anyone is watching, we're going to give it a couple of minutes, right? And then we're going to start talking. And today's talk is going to be a sort of rerun of yesterday's, because we are a little bit professional. Dan, just say hello, because Nin's over there. Dan, sounds good, yeah? Oh, perfect.
With audio, yeah? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. So listen, we had a little bit of an issue yesterday with audio from Dan. And today, I think we've got it fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a rerun of yesterday's stuff, but we're going to also, we probably can refine it a little bit. We probably won't whittle on so much and get a bit more to the point. And the whole idea of this is this, right? There's going to be an overall bracket of what we can do now in light of the COVID-19 outbreak and our general health, okay? So that's going to be the overall thing. There's a lot of stuff that we can't do, and we worry about that, like, you know, we hear it all the time on news, worries, people dying, blah, 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 and it's a real worry. So we're going to really address what we can do to affect it, okay? So what you can do, what I can do, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to do that in the look of a Chinese medicine and Eastern medicine way from Dan, and how that relates to maybe what we can do with the Western fitness philosophies as well. So it could be interesting, and it could be lots of tips and tricks on how to stay healthy and maintain healthiness. But we'll give it a couple more minutes, Dan, yeah, because it's still early doors.
Yes, okay, mate. No rush.
But I was talking to Dan, and I had this thing today, guys, like that I really wanted a roast chicken. And so and this is interesting. This is interesting. So I basically, it's not really. I drove all over the island to look for a chicken. Now we usually have a local market just down from us, but it's shut because of the COVID thing. And then there's roadblocks all over the island where you can't go. So I managed to find a chicken, Dan. I trekked over mountains, swam through oceans. And then I found this chicken, got back, chicken, slammed it on the table. Me provide food. And then I had all the vegetables ready. I was doing my stuff, getting prepared for a session I had this morning and the session I had this afternoon, doing some work. And then Nin came out and goes, Tom, you do realise something, don't you? I was like, what, Nin? She goes, the oven broke 2 days ago. So I've had this chicken with no oven and actually no other way of cooking it. So what we've ended up doing, and we still haven't eaten, is just getting a barbecue and realising that we didn't have any charcoal. And we couldn't get any charcoal because it's past 12 o'clock and all the shops are shut. So we had to get some wood, make fire, and cook it through tin foil and quite organically. And it still hasn't been done.
Well, I feel for you there, mate.
And Dan, to top it all off, you know me, I'm not really a drinker. I'm not big on it. I'm just not. But I had a couple of beautiful bottles of wine. I might even talk about it yesterday. And it's a nice wine. And I thought I'd have a glass this evening. But then it's dawned on me that it's a corkscrew is necessary, and I don't own one of those.
You can push the cork down into the bottle though. It's
Then you got-
all right to do, you know.
Yeah, but then that's ruined it, because then you have to like commit, don't you? And that in real life that would last me for like a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, guys, and I hope you got excited by that story. I can see that everyone is now logged out. We had a few followers, but
It's
now
pretty
like, everyone's gone. Okay, so
So whereabouts in Thailand are you at the minute?
so I'm in the south of Thailand. We're down by in a place called Koh Lanta, and it's in the district of Krabi. So most people have heard of Phuket. It's an island just below Phuket. Yeah.
Cool.
Lovely
Well,
place
ask
to
me,
be.
that's all.
Sorry?
Natasha asked me, that's all.
Okay, yeah. It's a lovely place to be. We're really lucky. Actually, we're really lucky. There's a lot of food, nice people, and it's a beautiful island. Okay, so we're 3 minutes past, Dan. If we give it one more minute, one more minute, and then we're going to get
Let me
honest.
get going.
Yeah. How's your day, Bino?
Very good, thanks.
chicken.
Done a bit of qigong outside. Had a nice breakfast. A bit of reading. Took a bath. That's about it, really.
Good stuff. Good
Nice,
stuff.
lazy start to the day today.
That's nice, mate. That's nice. Okay, well, look. What we're going to do is we're going to get this over on the way. So I'm just checking on a few things. That's all good. If you shared a couple of groups. Okay, guys, listen. So yesterday, let's get this formally under the way. Yesterday we started this and we did this. I've already given you sort of the abridged reason why we're doing this. What we're going to do is we want to compare the perspectives of the Eastern medicine and philosophy compared to the Western sporting and physical education, so fitness philosophies, and we want to combine that together to see how, if we got tips and tricks and, for want of a better word, to make us stronger and more prepared to deal with the COVID virus and any other health issues going forward. And it's going to be concentrating around what we can do to help ourselves rather than worrying about what we can't do. Okay, so taking that ownership back. So I'm Tom, and Coach Tom from the website CoachTomFitness.com. I'm a fitness professional, strength and conditioning coach, sports nutritionist, and personal trainer. And I work here in Thailand, but I have clients all over the world. I'm very lucky like that. I've got a lot of international clients, and I love health and fitness. So Dan, could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Dan. I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I do Tai Chi, Qigong, and particularly run 2 busy acupuncture clinics where I've just delved into the world of herbal medicine. So that's my latest string to my bow. And I just love it. I love the arts, and I love the different way of thinking to health and wellness.
Amazing.
So yeah, here in sunny Devon, in the UK.
Brilliant, brilliant. And I know you've studied hard and long, so I love where you're at. Just very quickly before we move forward, just if you guys are watching and you have a question, you can either get us on Dan's stream or our stream. We'll try and monitor that and bring you in with the questions. If there's any issues with the audio, like yesterday.
Not at the moment, mate. It's all looking good.
Hey Mick, how you doing, by the way? If there is any issues, if you have any problems, please let us know. Yeah, it looks good. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to structure it like this. I think that you guys will probably know more about the stuff that I know, okay? Because I have the more Western philosophies and fitness. So I'll jump in every now and then to add. But I want to keep the narrative about what you're doing, Dan, actually, because this is something that I'm really interested in, and I think a lot of other people will be interested in. So if we can start. I think it would be nice just to very quickly just start right back at the beginning, really quickly, and say why you got into this. Why did you get into Eastern medicine?
Oh well, it's in a long story short. Basically, in my early 20s, I had some extensive operations on an ear that left me quite deaf and not in a very good place in my mind. And so basically, I was supposed to go for more surgery. That was kind of like the path that was laid out for me. and you just trust in what you're told, and you don't really look elsewhere. And I sort of went through it bit by bit, and it got to a point where it's just like, I cannot do this. It was kicking my body, kicking my health, and it was just too much. So I stopped, and I thought, how can I get to a better place without going through this? And I actually found Tai Chi first of all, before I actually went into the medicinal side of it. I just stumbled across Tai Chi. I thought, I'll do a martial art that will get me back on track, kind of focused with a structure. And through that, I just fell in love with the Taoist kind of philosophies and the ideas, and how the world works through those visions. And bit by bit, I just stumbled across acupuncture, and then sort of that led into where I'm at now, doing the herbal medicine. So it's been quite a long journey. It's been about 18 years in total, if I include the Tai Chi. About 14 years doing the practice with the acupuncture. So yeah, bit of a journey so far, but good.
Amazing, mate. Amazing. Good. Good. And that is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm move it forward and just ask you what I think that maybe we should try and define what would you say the difference between Eastern philosophies compared to Western philosophies is in the simplified form as you can tell us. What do you think the difference between the two philosophies are?
Yeah, so for me, the main differences, I'll explain the West first, in my view, how I see it, and then compare it. But the West tends to reduce things down to understand the structure. So it looks at biochemistry, microbiology, and mechanics. So you get things like serotonin in the brain. And then that gets knocked out to a larger scale. So you end up with compartments, so compartmentalize the different aspects to health. So you end up with like a psychologist for the mind, and you will end up with a nutritionist for diet, or a physio for mechanics, sports movement, that kind of stuff. And it all gets separated. So it doesn't necessarily interplay. It can do, but it doesn't necessarily. Sometimes you'll have someone seeing a nutritionist, but they may not be addressing their mind at all. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It just seems that's how it is. And then within that compartment, that area, you have specialists who are really knowledgeable. They know their stuff, and that's where they go. But within that, there's a kind of culture of fix it when it's already happened. So you wait until you're ill, and then you go and see the doctor. Then you take your medications to get yourself better. The Eastern stuff is quite different. It has a much more preventative approach, and it's much more perhaps holistic. They do cross over, but that is the main difference, really. So the Eastern approach tends to look at more energetics. So it's much more philosophical, poetical in ways, because you're looking at energy in the body. And some people think, oh, energy, what is that? Well, you can measure that in science, but they talk of qi and jing, which is essence, blood, and all the things associated in the body that we don't necessarily look at in a sort of biochemical way. So it's quite holistic is the word, really. So you'll take the psychologist and you take the nutritionist, and that would be looked at in one picture. So you wouldn't make any separation. The mind and the diet would actually be part of how you try and address or find that balance. And I think that's the biggest difference.
So
however, it is changing. Sorry, go on.
No, but in what you're saying is that in the Western philosophies is about specializations. So you, like you said, your physio, your osteopath, your whatever, it's a specialization. And so they sometimes miss the big picture.
Yeah, so whereas I can't say about Ayurvedic, but certainly, and someone might want to chip in if it's true, but certainly in the Chinese medicine stuff, you have the four pillars. So you have, yeah, in the ideal world, not everyone does do the four pillars, but you have your movement arts like Tai Chi, you have your acupuncture, your massage, and then your diet and nutrition. So you would come into it from all angles, and the philosophies behind that they're not separate. There's no kind of separation. But just going back to the crossover, it is changing. So you look at like this sudden rush in the West for things
Say that
like
again, Dan. Sorry.
mindfulness. You've got that. So now there's a big crossover because we've got this mindfulness push, So people are downloading apps for like mindfulness, which is effectively meditation. But if you look at the Eastern culture, this meditation stuff, the mindfulness stuff's been going on for a long, long time. So it's all starting to blend in areas. But yeah, there are quite big differences, I think. But there are similarities as well.
Because I would say
I don't know if that.
that was great. I like that. But because from my point of view, I can see what you're saying from the specialization side of things, and also from that sort of philosophy where it's totally not holistic. Are you still there, Dan? We've lost it a little bit.
Yeah, it's still here.
Yeah.
Internet's a little bit jiggery, but still here.
Because we've all been to doctors and gone to the doctor and said, I'm not feeling too good, and they will say, well, what are your symptoms? I got a headache and I got a throat. Well, you'll be all right, go away. I go to doctors, I got a bad knee. Okay, then you go and see an osteopath. So we have to go to these specializations, and I can see it changing now because there is a big mindfulness push, and we're starting to understand the importance of nutrition in health, as well as physical health, as well as mental health. But it's funny because we have the benefit of having this conversation a little bit yesterday, and I came away. I was thinking, and I know we're going to cover it a little bit more later on very briefly on nutrition. But we did have this in our culture, didn't we? Before, I mean, before modern medicine, we were probably considered health more holistically. Do you understand? Was that true?
Yeah, I think we probably ate more holistically. Even in my lifetime, you know, that it's sort of come round in pockets. But the general thing was that, like years ago, a lot more people grew their own food and things, so the nutrition might have been higher content. But we've gone into sort of mass farming. So, but I mean, it's another story. But you kind of lose nutrition when you're trying to grow monocultured crops everywhere, and
that is definitely another story, and we did say we would look into nutrition another time. Very quickly, I had a message from Maria Edwell saying, "Great initiative, good to see you. Thank you very much for that." And a couple of other people are popping in and out saying, "Nice one." So that's a really good abridged version. And actually, from my point of view, from the Western fitness side of things, I can see that. I can see that as well. We're very square and we're very neat in boxes and how we identify and how we do things. So even down to when you're training, there are rights and wrongs, and I struggle with that because I remember when I was training and there's some questions which is quite ambiguous, if you like. Okay, and this is in my training, and I could argue both ways, but there was a right and a wrong in that. Maybe that is how I could define a difference as well, because does that make sense to you, Dan? Is there more grey areas in Eastern medicine?
Yeah, there are. I mean, it's not a perfect system in my mind, and there's areas within it that I don't necessarily agree with. You know, sort of certain animal issues and that kind of thing. So it's not like this perfectly rounded system, but then at the same time, the philosophy of yin yang itself allows for change, so it is much more, it's much more flexible. It doesn't have this kind of set box, one size fits all. Right? I get that. I come across that a lot in a herbal medicine. People just asking me about a set formula. No, what formula can I take to make myself better? It's like, well, I can't tell you that without knowing what's going on with you, because it might be totally different to what's going on with someone else. But I'll touch on that a bit more in detail later. But yeah, so not quite a square cut, definitely.
No, but that is, I think that's something that you can be addressed later, because everyone is different, and there's no one size fit all, and maybe that's a little bit another difference between Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Okay, that's excellent, man. Really, that's really comprehensive. I don't know, like, I will reach out to you guys back there behind the screen again. If you do have any questions, please feel free to message them in, and I'll pull them up, or Dan will pull them up, and we'll see if we can discuss those a little bit. But Dan, I'm just thinking, given the current concerns of the current situation, how does training or an exercise affect your mind and your experience?
So yeah, this is a really interesting area for me, mainly because I'm quite intrigued by the aspects of the mind. I mean, I've suffered depression, so I kind of understand where you can go, as I'm sure many of us have. And I think that for me is what's important about the internal arts that the Eastern stuff brings. So the focus on your training is less about speed and strength, and perhaps more about softness, suppleness, and using your intent and focus. And I think what I really like about that is that it actually you're using breath to train the body, and mind and intent to train the body, and you change the structures in a different way. So one of the things that happens in your, say, Tai Chi, for example, you're slowing the brainwaves down because it's meditative. And when you slow brainwaves down, this gets you into a state of a deeper state of consciousness, or a more meditative state, and that actually changes the brain structure. And there's a great article, I mentioned this, a great article in Scientific America, where they rigged up a load of sort of high-end meditators, if you like, and measured the brain scans and measured the activity in their brain, and they found that the meditators change the structure. So what happens is when the brainwaves slow down, the frontal lobes and things like the hippocampus, which are all to do with kind of cognitive ability, memory, stuff that we need, the grey matter gets stronger, it gets thicker. And so it actually changes the structure and improves. And while the instinctive part of the mind, like the amygdala, which is your fight or flight stress response stuff, shrinks. So the cell activity gets less, it lessens. And so effectively, if you're doing Tai Chi and meditation or yoga and synchronizing breath with the body, slowing your brain waves down, you're changing the structure of your mind. You can do that, and it will actually keep the structure going, but you have to practice, because the snag is when you stop, the structures revert back. So it's a bit like weight training a muscle in your stuff. When you're building and strengthening a muscle, you have to keep it there to keep it toned, otherwise it drops out of condition. But I think from my own practice, I've had sort of periods where I'll be going quite deeply into it, doing lots of Qigong, lots of Tai Chi, lots of breathing stuff, lots of meditation. And then I'll drift out and things happen. I might be studying a bit more, not doing so much of what I should be doing, lose track of my teachers, they don't slap me on the wrists, that kind of stuff. And it's easier to get back to once you've got a practice. And I think that's the important thing, is just getting something going. And that's why I like my lot, because they keep me going and I keep them going.
Yeah, but that's actually the same, almost identical. You could mirror that, all those sentiments, to what I do. So when we do the group sessions, it's exactly the same. Everyone keeps each other going. What's interesting, right? What's interesting is when we're talking about training and exercise, that you were talking about mindfulness and training of the brain, and actually, it's something that I'm really interested in anyhow. So this is why I like talking to you and hearing it out. And there's lots of different ways of meditation, and people struggle with the meditation side of things, without doubt. And there's a great saying that if you can't meditate for 5 minutes, then meditate for half an hour. But when I was in Chiang Mai, we met some monks, and they practiced walking meditation. So what he did is every step he breathed in and every step he breathed out, because he found sitting down too boring. And so I thought about this. I thought, that was great. So I looked into this when I got back again, back to my home, and I was looking into it. And there is massive research done on essentially redeveloping the brain, so growing new neurons and actually expanding the brain through exercise. And they had this case study of old people in a retirement home. Okay, so half of them, or some of them, take a morning walk every day. This is true, and I tried to look up the study again today, and I couldn't find it. I was actually a little bit too busy, so I will look it up, and I'll see if I can link it to this page later on. And the ones who walked the most were the sharper. Without a doubt, you could measure their sharpness just because they put it down to walking more. Now, so this was, I told you yesterday, it's a Swedish study. So this Swedish guy looked into this and thought, why was that? And they did research on it, and it's a proven fact now that exercise, physical movement, can grow back your brain. And there's a great TED talk. If you guys like your TED talks, I think they're wicked. There's a great TED Talks. I got a name here by Wendy Suzuki. Okay, so it's literally 15 minutes. You guys could just after this bang onto it, and it's about brain growth and exercise and how you can do it. So what you're saying, there's actual proof of now. Okay, so when you're saying with the breathing and mindfulness, there's actual recorded proof that not only does that help, but moving your body and walking helps as well.
I absolutely. When I was saying I've seen it, I've not seen I've just written down the thing that you mentioned, but like I've seen it in my practice. So especially with the stroke group that we had for specific stroke rehabilitation class, that this wonderful lady called Vicky Allabone set up with me, and there was a client, well, several clients that it's happened to, but one in particular, and she couldn't raise her legs, so she was confined to a wheelchair. And there are people, they may be watching, I'm not sure, but that will remember this scenario. But she pulled me out because I'd said if you practice every day, I talked about the intent and regrowing neurology and changing things structurally. And obviously, if your arms don't work or your legs don't work properly, that can be quite frustrating because you're going, well, actually, I'm never going to get it back. Da, da, da. And she pulled me out. She said, you said if I did this every day, I'd improve. And she'd done it for like 10 weeks or something. And I just said to her at the time, I said, well, it's just, it's an absolute slow progress. There's no guarantee. I can't, I'm just going on. The more you try, perseverance prevails where all else fails. So it's just keep going, keep going. And she carried on, and she lifted her legs for the first time in like 2 years.
Wow.
Literally just got the exercises, just fully got them going, and it was just like one of those moments, bang, So it can work, but it's not easy with neurology. It takes ages.
Well, it does. It does. But I think the message there is that to anyone who's watching, there is real quantifiable evidence that movement, and specifically, I mean, these guys were measuring people who are walking in the mornings. So there's real evidence that movement sharpens the brains, creates new neurons, and that's evidence. That's proven facts, So that there straight away is a reason to keep yourself moving. And very quickly, I'm going to summarise this sort of area that we're talking about. And the question was, given the concerns of the current situation, and I think that a lot of people, and this is what envelopes the whole of this video, is the fact that we're trying to get people to start thinking about what they can do to affect the situation rather than what they can't do. So this is how this can relate straight away now, Dan, no? People can start letting go of those things that they cannot affect and start concentrating on the things that they can affect. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it comes back to you're sort of getting guidance, really. It's like me today, I woke up, I did some exercises. The reason I did those exercises is because I'd been in touch with my teacher, and they good old Mickey pulled me back into where I needed to be. So I went out and did some stuff. So it's kind of seeking it out and changing it and making sure that you keep discipline going and keep stuff moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've got the internet bit now, so we can do that. You can connect in and send videos and do classes and all that. You don't have to lie around on the sofa drinking beer all day, as much as it could be nice to do that.
Just for the heads up, guys, it's now 8:30 here in Thailand. Dan messaged me at like 7 o'clock UK time and said, Tom, let's just test the connection. And he was sat on his sofa drinking beer. But anyhow, that's not
he's the one who's got the wine. He's the one who's got the wine that he can't open. The chicken that he can't cook.
Yeah, okay. So thank you for that. Just very quickly, that's beautifully done, Dan. So if we, I think that you just said something right at the end there, without a doubt. And I tell every one of my clients, it's all about when you're doing stuff like that, whether it's mindfulness and meditation, or whether it's sports and fitness, or whether it's anything like that, it just does take discipline just to do it. Just simple. Everyone's got an excuse not to, but the people who seem to suffer and the people who seem to suffer have the more excuses. Okay, so if I'm going to say this, let's get into the nitty gritty of it. COVID-19, specifically COVID-19, okay, I'm going to highlight this little puppy right now because there's a lot of fear about it. There's a lot of fear about it, and I understand that. It's attacking some specific groups, okay, and the evidence is out there that lungs, so if you have lung health issues, if you're a smoker, heart, if you have heart problems, if you have hypertension, so high blood pressure, it definitely seems to be affecting those groups more severely, Dan. So we can both put in on this one. I think being a health practitioner, I could put in on this one. But from your point of view, how can we, what can we do to strengthen those areas, man?
Well, I think it goes back to the sort of meditation or the breathing stuff, connecting and getting an intimate relationship with your breath. So a lot of the people I come across, they've never even thought about how they breathe. And so you can go through life and just breathe without even thinking about it. But actually, when you stop, you take a deep breath in, you realise that you have full control over the lungs. And through that, you can improve gaseous exchange, oxygen uptake into the blood and the organs when you use your mind. So if you use your mind clearly, use the intent very focusedly to do breathing practices, you will improve the lung function. So I think that's the mainstay really of sort of Tai Chi, Qigong practice. I think in yoga it's used quite a lot as well. I don't do yoga, but I believe breathing's quite big. So a regular breathing exercise practice that you do every day, or as much as you can, to really get to know the lungs and know how you breathe and how the air goes in. I was saying before, in my own practice, it took me years, but there's a muscle in my neck that I realised that when I relax it, I can breathe easier. The sternocleidomastoid, I think, is the muscle.
I was just thinking on that. Was it me and you? We had this conversation last summer about that muscle, or was it somebody else? Did we have that conversation? Because that was I had so much.
Yeah, we might have.
But I think we did this exactly yesterday at this point, and it might be a good idea for me to step in and just tell you the actual physical characteristics of a lung. Should I just jump in there very quickly and say this?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so not many people know, Dan's already said the word gaseous exchange, okay? So gaseous exchange is the way of, we say, converting, expelling the carbon dioxide from the bloodstream and bringing in the oxygen, okay? So gaseous exchange is what it's called. And the lungs are huge sacs. Not many people realise how big these guys are, okay? So lungs start just below your collarbone, just behind it, okay? And go all the way down to, if you feel on the back of your body now, you'll feel your lowest rib, okay? Feel your lowest rib on the back. That's where roughly it comes down to. So that's huge area, okay? They're big things. Now, what happens is these are covered with little, and I used the analogy yesterday, if you can imagine a closed tulip or closed bud of a flower with a little hole at the top, they're covered with loads of these. They're called alveoli, okay? And there's lots of them, little sacs all over. I think that, off the top of my head, I didn't write this down, I think there's like 480 million or 500 million alveoli.
A lot of them.
There's quite a few, Dan. I tried to count this morning, and I got to 1,055, and I gave up. Anyhow, a lot of them. So what's the little hole faces into the lung. The back is attached to the lung lining, and behind it there's these capillaries, which is like a fine lattice work of veins, very fine veins. We have capillaries throughout our bodies, okay? We have it in our muscles and everything like this, but these specific ones are like a net behind the alveoli, okay? Now, what separates them and the alveoli is 1 cell thick, so it's a very thin membrane. What happens is when we breathe in, the alveoli also breathes in, okay, and brings in the new air that we've inhaled. From that, I try to think of the word, and I try to get this. A stabilization happens, okay. So whatever, if the water is, if the blood is high in carbon dioxide, more carbon dioxide in the blood than there is in the alveoli, then it sort of stabilizes itself. And the difference is normalized. I think that's the word, normalized. So the air becomes normalized between the lungs and the blood. So basically what happens is we seep out this carbon dioxide and seep in the oxygen, exactly replicating it. So if you were to breathe in your lungs, breathe in your air, you're breathing about 21% oxygen. When you breathe out again, you're breathing out about 16.5% oxygen. So you're actually only absorbing, or the gas exchange is only replacing 4% oxygen with 4% carbon dioxide. It's not a perfectly efficient system. But that's basically how it happens. So it's all about a normalization of the air in the lungs. Now, this is when they're finding out what's happening with the COVID thing, is if it's moving into the lungs, it's causing pneumonia and it's causing a high mucus count in the lungs. This is a couple of reports, and I'm not a scientist here, and there may be someone out there going, there's new stuff going on, that's not exactly what's happening. But the reports were that mucus is actually blocking up these lungs and blocking up the alveoli pockets, so that this can't happen. Gaseous exchange can't happen, and making our lungs less efficient. So lung health is key, Dan, basically. We can talk a little bit more on this because then the immune system kicks in, but I think we're going to bring that up in a minute anyhow. So that's the idea, that's the physicality of a lung.
Yeah, and I think that this sort of bringing in the new and getting rid of the old is quite a nice anchor point to sort of focus on. Certainly, the lungs are, in Chinese medicine, they're seen as part of your what they call post-heaven qi, so after birth energy, the energy that you derive from breathing and then food is supposed to combine and create what they call zheng qi, which is good upright energy, good strong energy to fight whatever comes your way. And part of that system is wei qi. So this is your white blood cells. And the way that wei qi forms indirectly is basically good nutrition and good breathing. And then you have good wei qi circulating in the body. So your dendritic cells, we talked about phagocytes, eosinophils, anti-inflammatories, all those kind of immune response cells that get stored in the spleen and sent out when there's an infection. So breathing is key. Breathing and intent and improving that gaseous exchange is key. Yeah.
I mean,
there are also things you can bring in. I did a tips video with one of these things.
yeah, I
So
saw
you can
that.
clear your airways, that kind of stuff. That might be a bit far for some, but you know,
No, I
stops.
saw that. And I know
It's all about,
that's used in a lot of places, a lot of cultures.
yeah, and not, it's little things like, not smoking. So if you like to smoke, try not to, but try and keep heat out the lung. The lung doesn't like heat, so it doesn't like cloy stuff. So we talked about the nutrient, saying about the lungs getting clogged up, certainly in pneumonia, like too much fluid. So you avoid stuff that generates fluid, which tends to be dairy products, that kind of stuff, or at least minimize it. Uh, so yeah, keep your lungs healthy, or breathing fresh air. The irony is that now the air is much more fresh. So we go outside, we do our qigong breathing exercises and open the lungs up, get the bellows working, and the air is nicer. So there's a lesson in it, definitely. But
That's
yeah,
good. That's good. Because from a sporting perspective, we're led to believe that exercise is actually good for our immunity, because first of all, white blood cells, the protectors of us, are carried around in our blood. So when you're doing exercise, they're being pushed around your body a lot faster. This is one of the theories how exercise can be good for immunity. The other ways are you're raising your body temperature more, so you may be killing some of the bacteria, the harmful viruses that are in you. You're flushing stuff out, and there's a lot of people talking about flushing things out. I can see one of the recommended things with the COVID-19 is drink a lot of water. So if it comes into your throat, you're flushing into your stomach, which actually does make sense.
Yes.
So there's things like there's things like that. And actually, to be fair, none of these are proven, and I guess it's pretty hard to prove. But for sure, Dan, for sure, and this is 100% sure, there's a lot of evidence here, and I don't think the public really know much about this. Being healthy, so no matter how you're doing it, if you're healthy, obviously exercise is healthy, okay, and if you can be mentally healthy as well, because if you're not mentally healthy, then you're going to be damaging your immune system by releasing maybe hormones that are not necessarily beneficial. So being healthy is the best way to stay healthy. As soon as you start hitting that, so by smoking, okay, smoking, I get it, there's going to be people who are watching this who don't want to hear this, but if you're smoking now, it's just crazy. You know, this is the time, this is your time to go, nah, don't need it, mate. Drinking liquor, so drinking alcohol, sugar, unfortunately those things actually have proven to inhibit the immune system. And what happens in a lot of these illnesses is that the illness, while it does make you feel pretty bad, it usually doesn't kill you. And this is what they're finding with this COVID thing, is that it's not necessarily the illness killing you, it's the autoimmune response. And an autoimmune response is when your immunity goes into overdrive to try and get rid of this pathogen or get rid of this problem. And often what happens then is it stops identifying the virus and identifies healthy cells as targets and starts attacking you. This is the case with quite a lot of this, the viruses in the past. The Spanish flu did this, and even the swine flu, that's why it's affected quite a lot of younger guys, younger people, was because it's making your immune system turn on you. Now, what people forget to tell you about the autoimmune thing is that it's often a consequence of a weak immune system in the first place. And a weak immune system is more likely to be gung-ho, for want of a better word. And I don't know how to put that any better. So now is the time that you should be looking into healthy immunity. And I think that brings us nicely on to the next one, is what can we be doing, Dan? What can we be doing to increase our immunity? What can you advise?
Yeah, so apart from the stuff discussed, so the internal arts, breathing and stretching, meditation, calming the neurology down, next step really is nutrition, isn't it, Tom? I mean, there's a lot of scope to kind of go into detail with nutrition, but really from a Chinese medicine standpoint, it's just getting back to the basics. So, you know, there's this culture now of kind of eating on the run, all that sort of stuff. The body works in algorithms, so you wake up, chemicals get released in the brain, and then the organs kind of follow along in suit, and they like regularity. So keeping it simple, eating fairly regular, a morning meal, a midday meal, and an evening meal, but with the earlier meals more substantial, so that you get maximum energy in the day when you're doing stuff, not lying around on the sofa, but out in the garden or walking or doing something constructive. But you need that energy, right? So regular stopping and eating and keeping your mind focused on the meal, a bit like what we used to do. Hopefully, a lot of us would sit round family meals, or would stop and actually sit down and eat, which we kind of lost that culture. So nowadays you're sort of on the phone, you know, you've got a
Eat on the go.
sandwich. Yeah, it's all on the go, and you've got 20 minutes, and then, you know, it's not, and the digestion just doesn't. The brain's thinking it's still burning loads of energy. It hasn't got a chance to really settle down and get the work done on the digestion. That will affect your immunity. So the more you kind of focus in and treat the meal like, actually, that is going to give me some strength. So we're going to have to focus on this and use the energy wisely, rather than just kind of a quick cardboard sandwich. And then looking at what you're actually putting in, and this will be controversial because everyone has different ideas about diet, but certainly from a Chinese medicine perspective, you want to avoid the cloy. So you don't want the stodgy, gooey stuff. So you don't want cream, you don't want cheddar, you don't want to be putting in too much chocolate. I know it's Easter,
Dan,
not time for that.
Because this is the bit that I was thinking about yesterday, and from my nutrition training, the understanding is not different, but there is a clear differential between East and West, because we have been brought up with dairy for thousands of years, where a lot of the Eastern cultures, not all of them, I mean there's a lot who did, but a lot of them don't have that in their cultural things, so that might be more pertinent to them. And so this is where maybe the crossover could be questioned a little bit, do you think, or not?
No, I like the way you challenged me on that. But then if you look at things like heart attack rate, you know, sort of rates of heart attack, things that are often involved with arterial plaques, the high fatty diets, right? So smoking as well, but high fatty diets, high fats lead that way. So there is something in that actually, and also the hay fever sufferers, asthmatics, all of those people will tell you that, you know, if they eat dairy, it clogs the system up. They get phlegm and they get sputum. So yeah, I think there is some truth in it. We probably process it better, but whether processing it better means that it's okay, or
No,
means that
interesting.
it's and
Interesting.
but also then there's this one size fits all. So one person may be more susceptible to damp. So if you're more susceptible for the fluids getting congealed in the system, then you want to avoid those foods. But not everyone is. You know, you're out there burning loads of calories, doing lots of fitness stuff. So the chances are your fluids will metabolize much better. So it does depend on the individual, but as a rule, cloy foods do clog up the system, especially if you're not moving the energy, if you're not circulating the chi.
I
So
was
they're not to be avoided, but to be kind of just on the back burner, not the mainstay. So
because
yeah,
I was going to also say there's again it's sort of, it's not challenging, but it's just going to be interesting to hear your response to it, because I like what you're saying about the regularity of eating, and I get that. And I definitely take a lot into what you're saying about eating on the go. I mean, it's
yeah,
ridiculous when people are like, I got time and running out with a mouthful of food.
it's not
When
crazy.
you eat, you absolutely feel shattered afterwards because your body has to digest it. And if you're running around and your body's not dealing with the digestion, that's obvious, yeah.
Yeah, and
But
and I think, you know, that frustrates me because my energy is much more suited to where we're at now. So, like, I am actually quite a productive person, but that whole kind of nine
yeah, I
till
get
five
that.
wave where you're forced in, you've got 20 minutes to do that, and then
Yeah, I
it
get
doesn't.
that. I
It's not
get that.
natural, right? It's not natural,
No,
so it
I,
goes
I,
against the natural rhythms.
I mean
Now's a
that.
chance to get back to something more natural.
That's, I think that would be the first thing to take from it, is that like this is the time to start cooking, learning to cook some good food, and relaxing and enjoying it, sitting down and eating it, you know, relaxing and have a little half an hour digestion afterwards, etc., etc. I'm just going to reverse back because I've also had to add to this. And like I said, my training is sports nutrition, okay? So I'm not a fully qualified nutritionist, someone who's been to university for 3 or 4 years training that. And I'd love to get one involved. It'd be nice if we can do a 3-way and get someone on with that. And I know one, Dan, so maybe that can happen anyhow. But when I'm talking sports nutrition, we often believe that everyone has a different rhythm for their food. So when you say that some people, like some people prefer a morning fill, but I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people who don't work well with breakfast and prefer a larger lunch. And there's this massive epidemic. I say epidemic because it is of fasters. The people who are like, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
an
the
intermittent
fasting thing.
faster.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not. I reckon we should go into it because that's a deep one as well, and we would both probably
Big
agree that.
subject, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's probably agree that there's benefits, but what I'm saying is, I think this is a good one. Now you can learn when you want to eat and when is good. I don't necessarily believe that the breakfast is the most important meal of the day, personally, and that's just an opinion. And so it's interesting when you said that in the Chinese medicine that they put that as a very big, as an important thing. Can I just say something very quickly? We just got a message from Mike. Can I have a look at that again? It's regarding 2 things, okay? One of those things I could probably answer straight off the back. So it's something that I'm quite, I've got quite a big opinion on, okay? But it's from, it's actually, sorry, it's Mick, okay? And he put, hi, what do you think of say it, Dan? Ayurvedic. Ayurvedic. Are you there, Dan, yeah?
You're breaking up a bit there, Tom.
Yeah,
Sorry, say again.
yeah. Ayurvedic. How do you say it? The Indian.
Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think.
That's the first thing. Ayurvedic. That's what I said. And body types. Okay. So he was asking, what do you think of Ayurveda and body types?
I don't know too much about them. There's a friend of mine, Natasha's watching, who's quite tuned into that stuff. But we do have, in the Chinese medicine, they have certain body types, in the
What are
five
they, Dan?
elements particularly. But yeah, I think again it gets quite box-like, so they cross over quite a lot. So you get people who tend to be a bit more um, weak in their stomach, and you get other people who are more weak in their lungs. Uh, it it varies, and sometimes there's a combination of the two. But you do get people who are sort of lungy, so they're always sad and they're kind of collapsed,
Because
and they fit the category of what an imbalanced lung would be in Chinese medicine. So you do get these kind of
okay.
traits, if you like.
I mean, we have in Western we have endomorph, mesomorph, etc., etc., and
Yeah,
we have to learn these and have to identify what people are. And I think it's the biggest load of crap in the world. Again, it's like when I was doing that, it's so ambiguous because I believe people can change their body type. You're not body typed. Okay, so you're going to have some people who are small and some people who are tall, but
I agree.
generally speaking, and there's a great. I should have written all of these things I'm going to do down because I forget. I'm going to forget. So if you guys want it, pull me up on it. Send me a message and I'll look it up. But there's a great book on nutrition, and it goes into this almost not about the body types, but it goes into how you can change. I mean, we have a basal rate of metabolism. Okay, everyone has that. And the body's got this amazing thing, and this is a fascination I have with the body. It's incredible. We don't like change. What Dan was saying then with the food is true. Our body fights to stay the same. It just fights to stay the same. That's why if you put on a lot of weight, okay, you've had a couple of bad years, you've had a sedentary lifetime. You used to be good at sport. You've got married. I'm talking about me a little bit here, guys. You got married, you started sitting down doing a lot of stuff on the computer. Your wife bought you a lot of chocolate. One thing led to another, you put on a few kilos and you're like, God damn, I've got to do something about it. I'm going to go on a diet. So you smash that diet, and then within the first week or two, you're like, these kilos are flying off me. And then what happens? Well, it stops. Because what happens is your body then goes, what the hell is going on? I don't like this change. I'd like to stay the same. Yeah, I like to stay the same. By the way, it happened the other way as well. When you're fit, it takes a long time to get this to put weight on, but then all of a sudden it piles on. So what happens is the body's got this thing where it's trying to cling on to its former self. And we just start to understand the way that works, okay? So that's why calorie counting can be a little bit bad, because actually calorie counting is relative, and
I think
it's
that
more.
that kind of
Sorry?
it reflects just reflects back into the fluid nature of the Eastern approach. Like, so it's not so one size fits all. Aileen just asked me. She said about, if you've had pleurisy a few times, how does that affect the system? And it's again, it goes back to one person who's had pleurisy compared to another person will exhibit a whole load of different symptoms. You might have one person who's susceptible to damp, lots of congestion, and the other person where there's no congestion at all, but they just get breathless and struggle to get air in. So it's quite refined trying to suss out how different each individual is, and then how you go about readjusting or reshifting that balance. There's not one size fits all. It mirrors what you're saying, really.
It does exactly, and that's why I've got a hate for. I got a hate for putting people in a box. I've just got a hate for that. It's everything is a grey line, and I think we can both relate to that. Dan,
Yeah.
I'm looking at time, and it's almost my bedtime. And we did say to everyone else, if you're there, we're going to try and put one of these together based around our knowledge of food and nutrients and nutrition. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Yeah, and it's such a big area that we probably haven't done any service tonight. But that's a good question. Yeah, exactly. That's a good question from Mick. I appreciate that. From a
I was just going to say, Tom, just to touch on the nutrition stuff. We were talking about not avoiding the damp stuff, but actually this is controversial. You can argue against it, but certainly in the Chinese medicine bit, it's the soups and stews, and we talked about getting stuff in that's warm and easy to digest, so that you get more energy from your food without having to do the work. Particularly important for people who've got digestive problems. But there are medicinal soups that you can get. We talked about the
Kimchi.
snow fungus and pear soup,
Yeah.
which is a medicinal soup designed to actually nourish the lung system itself. So take out heat from the lung, soothe the throat, and actually strengthen up the lung system. So you can look that one up, pear and snow fungus soup. And you try and combine in your foods the flavors that actually nourish the things that strengthen the immune system. So you go for warm, sweet root veg to kind of get the spleen and the stomach working. So things like carrots, sweet potato, parsnips, and then you add in the pungent flavor because the lung likes pungent. So you go for your garlic, your onion, radishes, all that kind of stuff. So it's quite an art to how you can tonify your immune system by what you put into the food, into your body through food.
So Dan, I was listening to that, but the dog walked out towards the chicken with a licking his tongue. I'm like, nah, no, it's not going to happen.
You're salivating there now, Tom.
There's not going to that chicken. We did say yesterday that you're going to see if you can write some of those words up, so we can look into getting them.
Yeah, there was some herbs I mentioned yesterday as well. I don't know whether it's worth going.
But could you do this just because when you speak those herb names and stuff, all I hear is this. La, 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 la. So what would be nice is if you actually wrote them and then we could sort of read it and remember it. I'm really into that.
Yeah, I will definitely write them.
And that soup as well. I'm going to try that. And actually, I got a message earlier.
Yeah, you'll get the snow fungus there easy, I reckon.
I got a message. Just get it in, can you? The actual chicken. The dog's still around it. I'm worried about it. And Phil did.
Vegetarians watching, by the way.
Very quickly, and I'm going to jump in on this and just say this: we are pretty much vegetarian, vegan, but we don't bracket ourselves that. So every now and then, we will eat meat, and it depends. And so I appreciate everyone's opinions on it all. And that's where we were. And it's interesting, Dan, as well, when you're saying with the soups, because I often, being a sports coach, I get a lot of people come to me and say, I want to lose weight. And when you're trying to lose weight, actually the advice would be to eat stuff whole grainy, so stuff that we can't digest so well, stuff that we're feeding the good gut bacteria. And there's a big thing on this, actually, those little bits that we can't digest and make it out of, then our gut bacteria can, which actually encourages weight loss and a lot of things. There's a study there. So that's, with the soups and stuff, certainly I would, if someone's ill, I'd recommend them having a lot of soups. And if they need nutrients, I'd recommend them having a lot of soups.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a whole wave of stuff on nutrition, but we could go down the whole herbal medicine nutrition route. You could do like another hour or so just on that.
And it'd be lovely to do. So let's leave it at that, because I'm aware we've got a couple more things I want to talk about. The first one would be and I think we've sort of covered this anyhow, but let's cover this again, and not cover it, but to sort of squeeze it all into one big message. What should we be working on as a health standpoint right now?
What should we work on?
Yeah, what should we be working on? I'm talking from my point of view. If I were to answer that question, it'd be lung capacity and heart health, so bring down that blood pressure. But what do you think? What would that be? What would your interpretation?
Yeah, so I think those kind of pillars or attacks to try and strengthen up your digestive function so that you get maximum energy, good nutrition, and then combine that with good regular breathing exercises, or as you do sports exercise, get the heart rate pumping, but to combine the two so that it's not just using the breath or using the nutrition, but actually get both together going, because both will formulate the strong immunity that will stop the infections, the viruses getting in. So that would be my main function, main kind of strike would be to go through the stomach and through the lungs. That's how you do it.
You mentioned yesterday how you do that. You said that the lungs. You said a combination of two sort of foods that would benefit your spleen and then your lungs. Can you give us that example?
That's right. mentioned it earlier. So like the sweet foods, you go for sweet, warm, nourishing foods for the digestive function. So that'll get the spleen nice and strong with the white blood cells. So your root veg really is where you want to be with that. And then the lungs is it's all about pungent flavour, and that transcends into the herbs as well. So a lot of the herbs that strengthen the lungs in the medicinal aspect are pungent in nature or spicy. But there's no one size fits all, especially when you get into the actual herbal medicine side of it, because you could rock up with like this virus, you could get it and it could give you symptoms of, say, yellow sputum, really sore throat, hacking cough. And so you would need to give a herb according to that, but someone else would get sort of white sputum and be freezing cold and sweats and all that. So it's a different kind of herb that would be needed to readdress that balance. They'd actually have a warming herb. So it all depends on what the person is exhibiting.
So could we, could we, as normal beings, could we figure that out ourselves, or would we need to go and see someone like you?
You definitely need to go and see someone, I would say. You could figure it out to a degree with diet. So you could look at, am I a hot natured person? Do I sweat a lot? Have I got, like, am I hot to touch? Am I always burning up? Or am I the other way? Am I freezing cold? Have I got low energy? And then there's food charts that you can access that actually show what the energetics of foods, which foods are warm, which foods are cold, which foods outwards, which ones go in. They all have directions. Some make you sweat. So, and you can play around with it that way. So if you're going to make medicinal soups, you could play around with food energetics. Yeah.
All right, no, that's good advice.
I think it's great advice, but I do think that if it gets to the point where you get symptoms, so say you got the virus and it started to take you down a road of producing phlegm and flu-like symptoms, that's really, you do need to, if you're going to try and fight it with herbs. If you try and fight it with herbs, you need someone's advice, really, because you need to know, it's quite complex to know where you're at within that pattern. And there are formulas out there. I mean, the epidemics have been going on for a long time. So there's well-developed formulas for symptoms. They might not be cures, but they will help to take down the symptoms. So, there's herbs like huang qi, which is astragalus. This is a known herb for strengthening the lungs. But it might not be good for everybody. So before you go out and buy a mass load of astragalus, actually, you need to consult someone, really, because it may have an adverse effect on that particular person. So
I got you. It's funny because when it comes to nutrition, obviously, I know me and you have had a lot of discussions on it, Dan, and we're both of the opinion, and I reckon a lot of people who are watching this probably are, is eat good, eat well, eat whole, okay? But I've had a couple of nasty illnesses in the last 2 years, and it's dengue, okay, dengue fever, which is a classic one in the tropics. And most people who get dengue tend to struggle with it a lot, and they exhibit these symptoms as nasty pains behind the eyes, bad like bones, nasty fever, joints, sickness, cannot eat, sweating, so these sort of things. And the people that I've noticed, and this is just observation, so this isn't like scientific at all. Take from it what you will. But the people who really struggled, and talking months to recover, okay. They can't eat. So when they're ill, they cannot eat and they can't take fluids, okay? And these are the two things that I've seen. So what I do, and I don't know if this is good advice or not, but both times I couldn't eat. I was not hungry. I was feeling sick. I hadn't slept. My first time I didn't sleep for 3 days because of the pain behind my eyes. It was horrific. But I force-fed myself. I actually did, And I love my food, so it takes a lot to put me off my food. But I force-fed myself. Anything I even slightly fancied, I was like, oh, I could eat that. I'd get it, and I'd force-feed it, and I'd force-feed drink. Both times I was training again within 10 days, and that's quite unheard of. So I really believe that that not only nutrition, but when you're ill, to give yourself nutrition. And a lot of people, when they're ill, don't fancy food, and I understand it, but I think there's a big thing in that. Do you understand?
I would go on that. I would definitely back that up. And I was saying about the dried berries and mixing that with warm water and honey. you can sit that in, and that's high nutrition. You've got your antioxidants,
Good.
your
Yeah.
vitamins. That's going to make you strong. So you, there's there are ways of strengthening yourself up when you get ill, and also going back to the internal arts, this intricate relationship between you and your breath. If you're struggling for breath and you've got lungs full of fluid, if you've been doing practices, you will have a better chance of keeping connected to your lungs
Yeah.
because you'll
Okay.
have that pathway in your mind.
Yeah.
That's important. It's important. Otherwise, you panic and you just can't get the breath in. I'm
Yeah.
not saying extreme cases, but you got to give yourself the best possible chance.
And I think that's right. And as a standpoint to answer that question from my point of view as a fitness trainer, and I'm going to say this to you passionately, and I'm going to look you in the eye, people, and say this. Yeah, there's no excuse for not being at least a base level of fitness. Now let me quantify that, because I know there's going to be some people who've had injuries or who have a chronic illness. So I'm going to have to, I'm not the biggest, my spectrum of abilities hasn't been massive, okay? But certainly those who are sitting there just thinking, I can't really be bothered, there is no excuse for it right now. And the single best way to bring your heart pressure down is by exercising. You're going to increase it, then it's going to come back down again. Nutrition is another great way of bringing your heart pressure down. Lung health, if we lose our alveoli, we don't get them back, okay, and they become less efficient, and we do lose them as age comes, which is why we lose lung capacity as age comes. But we can build up our capillaries, and we can keep our body being efficient at dealing with the oxygen. So health for lung and heart, I'll categorically say, just do some exercise, and the exercise is relative, Dan. We did discuss this yesterday. For a marathon runner, if they were to do one of my HIIT sessions where at the end of it I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to die, they'll be like, right, what's next? Because they have a huge VO2 max. Maybe if I were to take them to a hardcore CrossFit session, they'd be like, nah, because they probably won't have the anaerobic tolerance that I'd have, maybe. But so it's relative, and I'd use the two athletics terms, but if you're at the very beginning of fitness, at the very base level where you think that you can't do it, you can. Even if it's sitting down and getting a couple of weights and lifting your arms to start with, even if it's sitting down and standing up, even if it's climbing the stairs, and coming back down again, just for the sake of it. And classic one, this is a classic one. There's a recommendation to, before you go to bed, drink loads of water. Why? Because then you'll wake up and want to go to the toilet, and that walking to the toilet adds as calories. Okay? And if you think like this, it's just no excuse not to do that extra little bit, especially in a world where we're so sedentary. So and every bit of energy we can consume is digestible.
Just to touch on that as well, that's where all the qigong stuff comes in, because even if you can't do sort of high intensity exercise, you can move, you can circulate your body, you can breathe, you can sit down and do it. There are ways of moving, and it's good to have that kind of softness at the core of everything you do, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice anyhow. And I liked yours. I think, guys, we can take from that, from the nutrition standpoint, from the the preparation of the body standpoint, and from the health standpoint. Now has never been a better time to get these all into check and sort of act on them. And I know this for a fact. Me and Dan have got the same philosophy here. We both got into what we do now because actually we love helping people, and that's a genuine thing. So if you guys now want to send a message to me saying, what do you think, what can I do, I'm at this level and I'd like to do some workouts, I'd like to get moving, what do you think I can do? I will answer you as honestly as I can, and I'd help you out. And I know that Dan will do the same. We're obviously working, so if we're busy, we're busy, but if you make the effort to start that progress, I will do anything to help you. And on that, I do free live fitness sessions every day at 4 o'clock Thai time, which is 10 o'clock UK time, GMT. Although tomorrow is my day off, so I won't be doing it tomorrow. But every other day at 10 GMT, 4 o'clock Thai time, you can log on to my Facebook page, and Dan, I'm sure, will stick a link on there, like I will for him, and then you can come and join him for free. Yeah. Dan?
Go on.
Dan, is
Just
there?
just one question, Tom.
Yeah.
Just to sort of summarise, where do you think this whole experience is leading us? This whole experience with the virus.
Yeah, good question. Because I, from my point of view, from my fitness profession, when people find out that I do fitness, I have a few different reactions. Some reactions, most common reactions, are like, "Oh, I need to get. I put on a few pounds. I drink a little bit too much now. I need to get back into it." That's the most common reaction. Okay, and I'm like, "Oh, cool, wicked. Well, that's the first step." Then, nothing. That's my experience. Okay, I have plenty of clients, yeah, but those, because I see millions of people in a year. I meet loads of people. There's such a small percentage of people who just go, I want to do something, and then, can I do it? Let's do it. There's such a small percentage of people, and the reason is I don't blame them. Okay, excuses, and there's millions of excuses, and we can all fall in them. We're basically busy people. Okay, and maybe it comes to being busy, and they're prioritizing different things in their life, and I think that's an important word. We'll come back to prioritizing. Secondly, there's a financial connotation there, and we talk about this, restrictive measures of people reaching exercise. We talk about this. Okay, what are these prohibitive factors? Maybe they can't afford a gym. Maybe they don't have the time. Maybe they don't. They're not able to stand up. Maybe they're not able to access these things. So these are prohibitive measures which keep people away from fitness. But the biggest prohibitive measure is themselves, because they make it for themselves. And so what I think what will come out of this, and already in the last month since the lockdowns come, I have emails and messages all the time going, Tom, I'm worried. Yeah, can I do something? Now I advise them. I don't know how many people do what I do, but I think, I hope, I hope that people will start looking at their health more importantly. If I was then to go even further, I'd hope that governments would do some very simple initiatives. And the first thing I would do is I'd subsidise all vegetables and fresh fruit, and I'd tax all processed food and sugars. Okay, so I'd make that direct correlation, and then people have to start doing that. Then you can have initiatives of, getting people to cook, getting regrounding that. Health, like you said, let's take it from the Eastern things, where health shouldn't be something that we deal with in an acute situation where stuff's gone too far. It should be something that we use as a preventative. This is a classic one for me. I deal with a lot of adults, but I deal a massive amount with young people. Okay, so I have a swimming school here as well. I don't have enough one, and I do some football as well. So what I'm saying is, I deal with these young people, and these young people don't know how to move. Now, what you're saying, well, they don't know how to move. They don't know fundamental movement. So I do this on beach training, okay? So, and they come up to it, and I teach them fundamental movements like hip hinging, okay? Hip hinging. I bet there's a lot of people who are looking on this now going, what's hip hinging? If you come to my training sessions, I'm big on these fundamental movements. So personal training, at the moment, it is a vanity thing where you're 35, 40 years old, you want to look good, or you put on a bit of weight. Okay, so you spend it on a personal trainer. I don't get any parents spending that money on their kids to have some personal training, and that's what we should be looking at as well. Getting the kids into personal training and identifying their body, not PE, not physical education. I mean, Dan,
Yeah,
can you remember
I
physical
think
education?
just to come in on that, really, I think there's a big lesson in this virus, and it's almost like Mother Nature teaching us that lesson that yeah, we do need to step back. And it's the irony is that the lungs are connected to the air, and the air is getting clearer now that we're not polluting it. And actually, we can't go. Well, we can go forward like we were, but I don't think we should go forward like we were, because we were just pulverizing the planet into the ground, and it's not actually feeding us as people. We'll be a lot happier species if we take a step back, work within our means, and not this kind of go get kind of culture that has developed, that we're kind of almost forced into, really. And I think the analogy of the lungs in Chinese medicine of bringing in the new and getting rid of the old is really nice. It's kind of good chance to do that, try and reevaluate our values in this world, and how we, how we move forward, not to be so destructive to the planet. and that has to come from the top down as well. It's easy for us to all try and recycle and all the rest of it at the bottom, but some big changes have to be made, I think. And this
That is absolutely, and that is very aspirational. And as a starting point, I would say that people try. Let's hope people don't forget this moment, because I know what will happen, and I think what will happen is, whenever it ends, people will just go back, and that's probably mine and your job, Dan. Is to
I
not
was
let
just going
people
to say
forget.
that this whole thing about the herbal medicine, right, Tom? You know, so that like getting more like your relationship back to nature. I mean, I know you know what it's like growing food and stuff. You've done all that, but a lot of people don't have that experience, and actually, that is where it's at. It's like producing your own food, getting connected to plants, get back to nature, get back to what's real, and get away from this whole kind of it's just a material.
See, I like that, Dan, because this whole conversation is meant to be over how we can take control. And the aspirational stuff's fine, but you know, governments are governments and companies are corporations, and we can control them, but that's a different remit for what we're talking about. What we are saying is how we can take control for ourselves. And you know, there has been, to judge it, people have been messaging me asking what they can do, and I know they've been messaging you. And that's why we put this together. Yeah, so to take control of yourself, like you said, use this time to go and put a couple of tomato seeds in your garden. Put it in a pot. Definitely. If you haven't got a garden, stick it on your windowsill. See where the tomatoes come from. You know, then go for a walk. Oh, if you're not allowed to walk in a park, log on to my live stream and do a little exercise. Maybe do one round. If you like too much, that's cool. You've done one round. If you're interested in how to eat your fungus soup, what's it called?
Parent snow fungus soup.
Then send Dan a message and go, what is this? What is this soup?
I can tell you all about herbs.
Yeah.
It's classic. Like I had a client the other day, and he was out picking sorrel. I mean, he made a sorrel soup, you know, like a spring soup.
Beautiful.
Just growing the hedges.
Oh yeah, you've got the wild garlic coming now. That's my favourite time, the wild garlic season.
Yeah, wild garlic, yeah. Good stuff.
So, just to bridge it, if we were to say, like, from your point of view, okay, this is what we're going to do, because then we're going to end it. It's 9:15, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
My chicken, I don't know how it's getting on. It's like 6 days past my bedtime. So what we're going to do is this: we're going to bridge it, right? We've got a minute each. We don't even need to use that, but maximum a minute each to say, what can we do? What can we do as individuals in this situation to improve our chances, and what can we do? What can we take control of? Dan, shoot.
So first thing is develop your intricate relationship with the lungs, get your breathing, try and find some sort of mechanism to develop that with, whether it's meditation, qigong, yoga, or a combination of all of them. Next thing, look at your nutrition, start growing some food if you can. If you haven't got a garden, get them in pots. It doesn't have to be much, just a little bit, so that you've got good quality nutrition and you're getting a connection to nature. If you get a chance, pick some wild garlic, combine that, start to make soups, explore nutrition in that way, and overall just try and help people that are close to you and the wider community as good as you can in this difficult time, and try and just don't be scared. Bring your skills to the forefront. Just get out there and do it as best you can. Use the internet, whatever it may be, but just, chance to look inwards really, and then take that forward when we step back out into the world when all this is over. That's my advice.
Bravo. So for mine, guys, my advice would be to sell. Get into the mountains while you can. No, seriously, my advice would be echoing everything Dan said there, except I'd put in physical fitness. Okay, I cannot emphasize enough how physical fitness will benefit you. Okay, losing weight, and this is another thing. This is the classic story. Okay, if you want to lose weight, that's all very well, and if you're a big person, you've got a bit of fatness, and you're looking like a pear. If you lose weight and just calorie count, then you'll just be a little person who looks like a pear. Grow, get some muscle, develop your systems, okay? And the muscle's important because it's an important part of our systems that helps us protect ourselves. There's loads of important parts of that. So get training. I'm not talking go to the gym and pump. Get training, get yourself healthy. Eat food, nutrition, you are what you eat. Your cells are literally made up with what you eat. Literally. this literally is what you eat. You know, so if you're made up of crap stuff, and your cells are made up of crap stuff, if you're made up of good stuff, they've got half a chance against all virus. And take ownership. Take ownership of this. Take ownership of all of it, but take ownership of this. Look at yourself and go, this is the best time and it's the worst of times, Daniel. Because right now, you've been told to do nothing. And those of you, there's some mighty heroes out there who are in the NHS and who are in the health work around the world. Respects. But everyone else who's been told to chill at home, you've been told to chill at home, right? So do that, and look at how you got here. Look at why you got here. Look at why we got here. Take it back. Take your control back. But the first thing you can do is tune into my live fitness stream on Tuesday at 4 o'clock or 10 o'clock UK time. Next thing you can do is message Dan. Ask him about his fungus soup and some herbs. Dan, can we swap links on our webpage?
Qigong here as well. There's online Qigong.
So, did you hear that? That's big. That's superb.
It's all going down. We've got good classes going now.
Perfect. And you do that with Zoom, Dan, do you?
Yeah, using Zoom.
Wicked.
Doing ones, classes.
Wicked.
All good.
Wicked. So that's great. Listen, both of us will have a link of each other. I'm CoachTom. My website's CoachTomFitness.com. You can get me through there. Daniel Highestsprings. Is it highestsprings.com, my man? Highestsprings.com. You can see at the bottom of the screen we have both websites up because we're pretty professional. And at the top here, I've got a little challenge for you guys. It's a 30-day challenge on my website. Unfortunately, it's not free. But if you want to go from a fitness challenge and keep yourself busy in these times, it's quite a good one. Obviously, you don't have to do it. And there's loads of free stuff that me and Dan will be keeping uploading to our YouTube channels. So keep an eye on that. And Dan, shall we see if we can get together in a couple of weeks, within a couple of weeks, and do some other stuff on nutrition, see if we can get other people involved as well.
Nutrition stuff. Let's go a bit deeper into nutrition.
Lush, lovely. You guys, listen. If you enjoyed it, give us feedback about what you'd like and what else you'd like to see. If you didn't like it, pretend you liked it. Just pretend. Me and Dan are sensitive souls, aren't we, Dan?
Bit at times.
Yeah. So just say you guys did pretty all right. On that note, we're really interested to see how you guys get on. Stay safe, stay healthy, be happy, take control. Smile at the person next to you, smile at the person you're going to see later on, okay? Dan, thank you very much, mate. You're wicked, really, really knowledgeable. I love it. Brilliant.
Look after yourself, mate, out there.
Look
after yourself out there, mate.
Yeah, look after yourself. Guys, see you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.
Guys,
bye.
Thanks for listening in.